Just want to go live. Welcome back to the Behind the Food podcast, everybody. Today we have a special guest with us here, Jess Finny. She is honestly, this is really cool for me because you were one of the students that Megan mentored at Belmont a long time ago, and now Jess's business, Chechi's Chai, is like a legit thing. Granted, it was a legit thing then too, but now you're not a student anymore, which is really cool. So usually I like to start these off with like, how did you like get started? Um, and I don't think I've ever asked you this before, but like, why did you guys start Chechi's Chai in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Let's start there because I feel like that's the fun part because it came out of nowhere, as I feel like most these stories start. So chai, let's talk about chai real quick. So chai means tea. So when you go to like a Starbucks and you see chai tea latte, it reads TT latte. So all the brown folk, when we pull up to a Starbucks or a local coffee shop, we're like, oh dear God, like run. You don't want to have that chai because you just know immediately that's a red flag. Um, so yeah, we grew up in an Indian immigrant home. My parents moved here in 2001, and so I was born here, but my sister was born in India. So they just raised us in our culture as much as they could. They tried to assimilate. We assimilated faster, and I noticed myself wanting to not have anything to do with my culture. I just wanted to be. I'm a coconut. I'm such a white girl on the inside. Like that is just what I say because that's how I grew up. I grew up in Franklin, Tennessee, and so I just wanted to be like everyone else. Didn't want anything to do with my home, which is like a crazy thing to say, but it as a young girl trying to just make her way through high school, that's what I felt so strongly. And me and my sister were on two ends of that spectrum where she was trying to hold on to our culture as much as she could, and I was trying to stay far away from it. And so my grandma came and lived with us for about 7 years before she passed. Because she was just weak and my parents wanted to house her, and she taught my sister how to make chai, and she would make it for us every single day when we got back from school, and my sister just got into the rhythm of making it, and she is the reason I drank it because to be honest I could have gone without it. I would have just like anything else been like I don't want anything to do with it, and she was like drink the chai, it's so good. And it just is a ritual in Indian houses and in the culture. It's like every day tea time. You get together, you drink a cup of chai, and it's when you connect. So, my sister got so good at making it, and after my grandma passed, like when people would come over, my parents would be like, "Oh, Joanna can make chai, so she'll make it for you." And then people would be like, "Dude, this is better than my mom's. Like, this is better than my grandma's. Like, you should create something with this. Like, you should make a business." And we would be like, "Okay, haha." And just for context too, like coffee shops in America and in the West is tea or chai shops in the East. So like the culture here around coffee is like similar, if not more, in India with chai. And so they were like, you should create a chai kata, which is what it's called. It translates to tea shop. And so that was just in the back of our heads, right? So Joanna started an Instagram at some point, just started posting content, and I was like, oh dear God, this is so cringy. Like I was like, I don't want anything to do with this either. But in college, when Jimmy and I both went to Belmont, when I was part of the business degree and going down the path of required classes, entrepreneurship was one of them. And I was in this class with Dr. Brown, who is a big part of the start of our journey. He was just silly. He would play Shark Tank all the time. He would just talk about like how entrepreneurship is the personality behind business, right? You've got the numbers, you've got the structure, you've got the data, but you've got to have people that care and want to start things. And so he would just kind of give us this perspective of like, this is like the heart behind business. And you never know what comes here. And so I was like, whatever. I was just trying to get through the class, to be honest. Like, this was that part of college where I was like, I just got to get my homework done.
Yeah, I have a question about that just to back up a second. Why did you choose to go to like Belmont and do a business major? Because it seems like you you loved the chai that your sister was making, but like that wasn't like necessarily what inspired you to be like, oh, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur when you were like 18. Why
No.
did you end up at Belmont? Like what was it just like I have to go to college?
Yeah, for sure. I was just following the beaten path. My parents are both in, my dad's in IT, my mom's in accounting. And so I literally, my major was a mix of them. I was business system analytics and management. And so I started with finance, and then I had to run from finance because that wasn't my thing. I know you were, Jimmy, but
Yeah,
props to you.
for a minute I was a finance pro, and then I decided that wasn't for me.
Yeah, we all have that moment. But yeah, I was going down the beam path. I was just ready for an IT job, wherever that would take me. Um, and so yeah, the entrepreneurship class was literally just a core class I had to do, and that's what I was getting done. And so in that class, you have to pitch an idea, you have to build a business with your classmates. And so I just didn't have any better ideas. So I just pitched this chai shop that me and my sister had ideated. And so anyways, that ended up being chosen by my classmates as the thing they wanted to pursue for the class, and so suddenly I had a employee rate of 5 people. They're like in this with me. We're researching. I'm bringing in prototypes, which is just making my sister make chai for me before I go to school. Like we're doing the thing. We're building a business. And a cool part of Belmont's entrepreneurship program is that they invest heavily into the students and into the ideas. And so they do a pitch competition. This is where me and Jimmy met because he judged the competition with Megan. And so I was not planning on doing any extracurriculars with this, but my teacher was like, you've done the work. Like you already have the thing. Like just go talk to people about it. Like this is something you're passionate about. It comes from the heart. It should come easy. Well, I walk into the room and it's like a room full of guys in suits my age and being like, they're pitching their tech company, they're pitching their music business company, and like it's all so legit. And I'm like, I'm about to go up there and talk about tea. And it's just like, again, those moments where you're like the imposter syndrome, the feeling of like, what am I doing? Like, is this real? But I pitched it that day. We won second place and $1,000. And $1,000 now, I'm like, it's chump change. But at the time, I was like, oh, dear God, we have to do something with this.
Yeah, and I'll caveat with $1,000 a few years ago was actually worth a lot
That
more
is
than
also
$1,000 right now.
this
So, I
is
mean, it was more money than it is today. Today, like, I don't know what I'm doing with that, but in
right.
2023, was it 2022 or 23?
2023.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it was a lot more money.
Yes, and also to a sophomore in college, I'm like, I haven't seen
That's a
that
lot of
money
money.
in so long. Like since I worked at, that restaurant in my hometown. So it's just crazy. So we saw this and we were like, all right, we'll see. Maybe we'll use this to pay off some debt, but maybe we'll see where this goes. And so then the teachers and the environment, they just were like, hey, let's do pop-ups. Let's just try this concept out. So we popped up on campus. I hyped it up. I told my parents, I was like, Belmont Boulevard is popping. I was like, there's gonna be 500 people coming through the streets. We had 15 customers that day. We made so much product and took a lot of it home. But we got to see people engage with the product being like, I've never had this before, and being so curious. And we were like, okay, walked out pretty disappointed, but it was a start. And then at the end of the semester, there was another competition. So the second time, and this is a little bit more legit. It's got a 6-minute time frame. You pitch the entire business with like a plan, a 10-page document, which now I look back at that, I'm like, what did I even write? I'm not even sure. But my teacher was like, just do it, Jess. You just do it. Like, this is like a lot of just like people like pushing me to the edge. And I'm like, fine. And so the night before I applied, and then we pitched it. I'm going to be honest, I botched that pitch. I had flashcards. I lost track of where I was, threw them aside. Then I just started looking at the slides being like, oh yeah, and that's our financial projection. And oh yeah, that's the thank you slide. Things like I was like, oh gosh, this isn't going well. My parents drove all the way to my campus at like 4 p.m. to come watch this one too. And I was like, so disappointing. And I just looked at my sister. I was
They got
like,
to
I'm
watch your
sorry.
mom.
Yeah. I was like, Joanna, I'm so sorry. I'll do better next time. And then at the end of it, like we just kind of were like, faith is a big part of our story, and we were just like, you know what, God, if you want us to do this, like give us first place or nothing. And sure enough, we won first place that night, and we got $5,000. We were like, this is even more money than last time. Yes. And so just the physical investment that was made during that period of like 5 months right at the start, was confidence, was that pushing past this like fear and pushing past what felt very uncertain and still does often, but that early support meant the world.
I have another question about that. So, like, it seems like you were kind of like a reluctant entrepreneur. You're like, I don't think this,
Yes.
like you just didn't see yourself in it, but
Mhm.
it looks like a lot of people kind of saw it in you. Do
Mm,
you think that like really made the difference for you? Because at the same time, like a lot of people, like people see it in them and they're like, no, that's not me. And they just don't. Like, and part of it definitely was you being like, okay, I can do this.
mm.
Like, how much of that balance do you think was there? Do you think it was like a lot of external motivation was like needed, or you would have come around to it eventually?
I think I needed people to call me up because I knew that I was capable of more than a desk job. I just didn't think at that point in college I wanted to risk anything. I just wanted to do what I thought was right and what I everyone else has done before me, especially in my like cultural context. You know, you know the stereotype. Indians are doctors, lawyers, or IT workers. I'm like, it's
Yeah, I
just
mean, you like said it. You were like, yeah, so my parents moved here, my dad's an IT worker. I'm like, okay, so he got like an H-1B visa. Like it's like the thing. And yeah, you like broke that stereotype. But I see so many people like yourself break that and then become like insanely successful
mm,
entrepreneurs. Um, I think there's something about that culture and about like maybe you're rebelling from like the thing that you were like supposedly supposed to do and like coming into something that you really are supposed to do because you have to like rebel against it that then makes you like the perfect fit. Because
mm,
you'd have to imagine if you weren't, you would have just gone down the standard path. Like you wouldn't have had, I guess, the guts to like see the thing through.
I
I don't know
wouldn't
if
be
that
on
makes
this
any
call
sense.
on I wouldn't be on this call on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. for sure.
Yeah, no, you would be in the office.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Challenging my train of thought was and is an ongoing process to be like, okay, don't revert back to what, you know, is the norm because it's been incredible to see what comes and the connections made with people like me who are still on the like before line and still are like, is this even a possibility for someone like me? And getting to kind of I don't know, live it out and exemplify it because it's scary. It's still like it's that ongoing thing of it's not like I feel much different than that sophomore in college, but now it's like I'm dedicated, I'm motivated and yeah, just getting to believe in myself in this process too.
One thing I've noticed is as you go farther and farther down that path, that like fear or impetus to want to revert back goes away as it's farther back in the rearview mirror.
Mm,
So some people talk about like burning the boats. Sometimes you don't have to burn the boats. Sometimes you have to walk far enough away from them that you can't see them anymore, right? And I think that that's kind of where you're at right now is you're walking away from the boats, right? And at some point, they're going to be so far back in the rearview mirror, they're not even going to be an option in your head. It's just going to be, this is it. This is the only option. This is what I want to do. And for me, it's been 8 years and I couldn't go back now if I wanted to. So it's like, that's where you're headed. And I think it's the right path for you.
Yeah, and
It's
Daniel had
exciting.
a real job. He had a real job before this, and he left that job
Yeah.
to
In
run a
IT,
food truck. Yeah,
love it. All the brown people out here were like, we can only work on a computer. I'm like, guys, we got this. We can do this. We can do
we
other
can.
things.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
I love
It's
it.
funny. There's a lot, as you were going through your story, a lot of similarities. Me and my brother started this together. So it's a sibling
Mm,
team, bringing something from our culture. You know, we brought empanadas to the market. So yeah, it's a lot of similarities there. Um, Definitely, I think the biggest difference was that we didn't have kind of the support system that you had in college, and I think that that was really uh, probably would have shaved a few years off, you know, our learning curve. So I think that you had that really great support system in the beginning. Um, Hopefully, is taking a couple years off the curve so that you're able to like get further faster. Or even just avoid some of the mistakes that we made that were really expensive. And I think that you guys are on a better long term path just from the beginning, which is great.
don't worry, Daniel. She'll have the same mistakes. I mean, at some point, you'll have a food truck or a restaurant, and it will light on fire too. It'll be
Yes,
fine,
yes.
and
It'll be
that'll be
fine.
fine. But do you
Yeah.
think that it actually did shave your years off? Like, Jess, when you like look back at like your experience so far, you're still like very young, but like you're like so much further along than like a lot of people your age, like into the journey. Do you think it was like interacting with people like at college or like just around you in your circle that were constantly like pushing you, like
yeah.
being in the right environment?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I count myself so lucky to have been in the community of other like aspiring founders, and then also to look up to a Jimmy, a Megan, a Ryan Reisdorf, like these people that were ahead many years, but they all had the same story where they were like, I wish I had started this sooner. I wish I had taken a chance on myself sooner. And whenever I was having doubts, I crashed out close to college without having a job lined up. I was like, what am I doing? And I remember I kept talking to a Megan, or I kept talking to an Elizabeth, who was the director of our program. And she was like, they both were like, it is a gift to have a passion and a dream like this so early on, and to take a chance on yourself now as a young, taking risks doesn't involve too much at the moment. I take care of me, myself, and I, and it's the easiest it's ever going to be now, right? Like, and so,
Dude, I say that all the time. It's so true. Like I got started when I was 23, and I feel like the detour I took into like the corporate world for like I don't know. I graduated in December of 2015. I quit my job in July of 2017.
mm,
So it was like 18 months
yeah,
of like jobs. And I was unemployed for I think like 6 weeks at one point because I was
yeah,
job hopping. But like, dude, you're so right. And you're like living it right now. It's like, I wish I would not have taken that detour. Is the dumbest thing I ever did. It
mm,
just like basically was 18 months of purposeless like wandering to just be kicked in the face to know that like I shouldn't be doing that anymore. I would have been better off driving for Uber, honestly.
yeah. Well, also when you have the cushion of, like, I was interviewing for all these corporate jobs, when you have the cushion of the benefits and the money that's right in your hand, it's immediate gratification, and you're like, oh, this is great. I could do this for forever. Like, it's hard to go back. It's hard to step away from that and to let it go and be like, oh, I'm making a horrible decision. I'm making a horrible financial or mental or physical decision, when you don't even start there, when you don't even go there with yourself and be like, hey, like, bet on you. Don't bet on someone else's business or plan or idea. Like, you've got something within yourself that needs to be shared too. So,
So when you graduated, like you were crashing out. You're like, shit, I don't
big
shit, I don't have a job. I remember talking to you right around that time too, and I was like, yeah, she's definitely on the edge because you're like, you do have a big choice, like a lot of people do at the end of school, to be like, oh, am I gonna really like do this thing? Like when I just went to school for 4 years, to probably have a job. What were like the first things you did like after school ended? Like a week later, like were you like, okay, I'm gonna like spend 10 hours a day on Chechi's. I don't know what that looks like. Or did you know what that looks like? Like what were you doing right after school ended?
Yeah. School ended. I was so burnt out, like beyond burnt out, because I think that is part of the journey, where starting so early and starting during college, when I was balancing so many things as a student and then trying to build a business, which I often say, like, during college, it felt like a lemonade stand. It felt like I was just setting up in a park and being like, come pay 25 cents for a cup. That was kind of the energy for a while, because it didn't feel legitimate. And so by the end, I'm trying to hype myself up, but I was just so burnt out from doing so much during this span of college that I had to take a break. So I went to New York City. Y'all, I had $200 from my grad party in my pocket. I didn't have anything. I was just like in this zone of, I don't want to be here right now because it just feels unreal. It doesn't even feel like I graduated. It doesn't feel legitimate yet. And I don't have anything to work on still. Um, I just was kind of there. I was in this mindset where I was like, I just need to step away before I like work myself into the ground. So I went to New York City. I went and stayed. It's this whole story. I can't even get into it, but it's this
Please tell
whole
the story. No, you have to tell the story. This is
oh,
such good content because like you're right now living like the moment of time that like it seems like I'm not like that old, right? I mean, well, maybe I seem old. I don't know. Like I'm 31 and I think about being like 23 in like 2017 like all the time because of how like fucking weird it was. It was so strange, but it's like the type of shit that like people write books about. I don't
mm,
know if you guys have ever read the book The Third Door or like heard of it, but it's like that moment in time that like reminds me of that, where it's like this guy was like doing the corporate thing, very like normal life, and then was just like, maybe I should be weird. and like try the weird thing, do the weird thing, and like it works out so well. So I want to hear
Mhm.
about it, actually.
Okay.
Please tell the long version.
Okay. I'll try. So my parents were not on board with this. They were like, "Where are you going? You don't have anything, no money to your name. You have a credit card bill though." And yeah, they were all just kind of like, "Let's just stay put and like you can just rest here." And that's what I was looking for a lot. I was looking for rest. I was looking for rejuvenation. I was looking for inspiration. And I was like, I'm in my childhood home. I'm just not going to get that. I'm not going to get what I'm looking for. And so I literally, y'all, I just booked a plane ticket on Christmas Day, and it was the cheapest thing I could find at 5 a.m. on January 6th. And yeah, I did. Then I just started asking people, I was like, can I crash on your couch? Like, I asked all my friends because I had lived there for a little bit, and no one is saying yes. Like, everyone had things going on. There were just obstacles. I was like, it's all legitimate reasons. I can't even be mad, but it just wasn't working out. And I was like, I have a flight book. I think I'm going anyway. And it was a one-way ticket also. Like I was like, I don't even know how long I want to be there. I don't know.
That is
I just
so cool.
I'm spiraling. I'm going down this like rabbit hole. But the day before I was supposed to leave, January 5th, I'm sitting with my sister, who is the reasonable of the two of us. She's always been my like grounding presence. She's always been the person to be like, don't go there. And I asked her, I was like, should I just cancel the flight? Like it could just be as easy as not go. And she was like, I think you need to get out of here. Because also keep in mind, she's my co-founder. So she's like, I need you to be in a, in a mindset that is productive and helpful. But she was also like caring for me as a sister. And that's the beauty of getting to work with your family, is that they get to see you as the little kid that you were when you grew up with them. They get to see you as, yeah, just like someone they care for deeply, and that will always be met with grace. So she was like, I think you need to get out of here. And I was like, I don't know where I would be sleeping tonight, tomorrow night. And she would be like, you can figure it out. So I was like, I guess I'm going. So I literally hopped on the flight. And before figuring anything else out, I went and got tickets to Back to the Future, the musical, because that is my favorite musical. And now that was my 8th time seeing it, which is crazy. So that's how I spent 30 of my $200, which again, like not making wise decisions, but we're going. I ended up finding this place in the Upper West Side. It's this like home that it has like 14 rooms. It hosts people that have been involved in like ministry spaces. And so my parents, like they started church in Franklin. And so I just found this in a big web that I was going into. And so found this place, found this room in it on the 5th floor. I had to climb five flights of stairs with my suitcase that was filled with all the things. I didn't know how long I was going to be there. It was like more than 50 pounds. I had to pay extra. So just go up to this room, and I'm just like sitting there, and I'm like, okay, like what does this time look like, and what do I want to get out of this? Like what is valuable to me in this moment? And I just remember I stumbled upon this journal when I walked in. And it's like a guest book essentially. And so people had written in it from back in like 2003, which is the year I was born, which I know is crazy.
That's wild.
And so the very first journal entry, I opened it, and it was from this lady who worked there, but she was moving to Nashville. Coincidence? I don't think so. And she was moving to Nashville, and she was staying in that room in the time in between of her move. So she was just like, I'm just staying here temporarily. And she was saying how this room, the room that I was in, was known as the mistake room. So no one would ever book it because it's like in the middle of nowhere upstairs. And if there was ever a mistake, if anyone would just show up to the house and not have a place to go, if they were ever overbooked, they would just send them up to this room, 55. And I was like, got it. Awesome.
Dope. In the
Yeah,
mistake
perfect.
room.
Yeah. The room. So I just am reading this, and I'm like, awesome. And then she said, the funny thing is, though, that not a single person that came through this room left unhappy or left unsatisfied with their stay. And she said there's no mistake that you're here, because every single person that has left here has had a testimony or a story, which is the craziest thing to say. But she would work there for like 8 years, and she had seen this happen over and over again. So she said, it's no mistake that you're here. And I was like, heard, like I'm there. And so long story short, I I'm sorry, I know you want the long story, but it's a long story.
I mean, you could like skip parts, Jess. You don't have to like
Yeah.
tell me every hour, but like
Yeah,
give us the details.
I stayed there the first night, and I was like, okay, one night in, I kind of was like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep tonight, and if I wake up tomorrow and this room is still open, I'm gonna book it. And it wasn't. It wasn't open. So I pack all my stuff, go down the flight of stairs, and then I just go into the city, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna figure out another night of stay. But it did cost like $50 or $80 to stay there a night. So I was like, that's just gonna drain my money fast. So I go into the city, I go read some books, I go like try to find some space to just chill and think, but I can't think because I'm like, I have to find a place to sleep. So come back to the house. The person that owns the house is sitting in the lobby. And I was like, can I talk to you? I don't know where this is coming from. I'm just like talking now. And she was like, oh, sure. Like, let's go to the library. So we go into the corner of the house and I tell her my story. I'm like, hey, I just graduated from college. I don't know what I'm doing, but I've lived here before. I know that this place has given me peace and a place to just rest. And I know that's crazy talking about New York City, but it just was true to my story. And I told her all these things, but I was like, the one thing I couldn't figure out is a place to stay. And I was like, I will do anything. I will wash the dishes. I will clean the rooms. Like, I will do anything if I could just stay here for a little bit longer. And so she just had the eyes of compassion and just the biggest smile. And she took me to the front desk and we opened like the calendar and she is like, come look at this. And I was like, okay, come look at the calendar. And every room, Mod Podge of bookings. And like, it's just a busy place except for one room. And it's not room 55. It was room 33. And it was unbooked for 2 weeks. And she's like, it's yours. Like, I would rather have a room full than not. I was like, are you kidding me? And I was flabbergasted. I started crying. I'm hugging her, and she's like, oh God. And so, anyways, I go up to this room, and y'all, it's a massive upgrade. It's 2 flights of stairs up, praise. And this room has a desk, it has a dresser, it has like a sink, it has a view of the street of the Upper West Side. I mean, the room upstairs had nothing. It was a bed. It was in the corner of the house, and this room was like a massive upgrade. And I was like, this is insane. Like, just the last thing I was expecting. And so I got to stay there, uninterrupted rest. I got to take, y'all, the bathroom there, fire. It was like this massive like tub. I got to take like, bubble baths. I haven't done that since I was 5. Like, I got to do all these things that were so restful. And also I met all these strangers. I was there by myself, so I had to talk to somebody. I was talking to the deli guy down the street on 72nd, and he was talking about how him and his brother started an Indian restaurant like 5 blocks up. And I was like, what are the chances? And then I just am meeting all these people, like someone I had met 2 years ago that ran into me again and said, did you just graduate from college? I was like, yes, how did you know that? And she was like, oh, like I had met you at the church and I, just had a moment and she just was investing back into my story. And I was like, this is all so wild. But y'all, at the end of the 2 weeks, when I'm done with my stay, my free stay, I was like, it's okay. I'm just going to go get a coffee shop job because I'm having so much fun on this adventure. I don't want to leave because what do I have for me at home? I'm going to go get a job here and I'm just going to stay and pay for the room and I'll just keep going as long as I can. None of the coffee shops wanted me. They just were like, get out of here. They're like, you don't know how long you're going to be here? Do you have experience? I'm like, Starbucks. And they're like, oh gosh, like, we don't want you. So I went to like 5 doors, knocked on all of them, and none of them said yes. And so I got onto the subway, defeated. My bank account's been depleted since like day 4, and I've just been on my credit card, and I'm sitting on the subway, and I'm headed to Chinatown to get dumplings for $3. And I'm sitting there, and a guy gets on the subway with a backpack on, and he walks past me. And then a piece of paper falls out of his backpack, and I look back, and he's like long gone, didn't even notice. And I look down at the piece of paper, and it's like a newspaper article. And I'm trying to make out what it says, but like my vision was blurry. Like I kept rubbing my eyes. I was like, what is happening? And then I look up for a second, look back down, and then a headline becomes clear to me. And all it says is, what are you waiting for? And I just was like, oh my. I like stood up, y'all. This was like one of those movie moments. I stood up and I was like, what the heck am I waiting for? And it was this moment of like, Jess, it's not that you don't have anything to do or you don't have anything to go to the next thing with. It's you're just so hesitant by yourself. You're holding yourself back. And just had all these revelations. Like in the subway, I'm standing up and these people are like, oh, might be another crazy one. But I'm just having a moment of just like, the only person standing in my way is myself, because what the heck am I waiting for? All I have to do is show up. All I have to do is go set up at the farmer's market a couple times a week. All I have to do is talk about chai with one person a day. All I have to do is do it. What the heck am I waiting for? Like, the only person that can do it is me. So what am I doing up here waiting? So immediately I run back to my room. I book a flight back. And my parents are like, thank God you were like on the streets. Like, Jess, please come back home.
I mean, it was almost a really cool like journey of you being like, well, then I stayed in New York.
Yeah.
Just
So now
permanently.
that's who I am. Yes.
Have you guys ever watched, fuck, what is that show called? Have you watched The Summer I Turned Pretty?
Mm,
Because you were giving The Summer I Turned Pretty vibes, because she just leaves and goes
I
to
just left.
Paris
Booked it.
and then lives in Paris for like a fucking year.
Yeah. That's
Clearly you
just,
didn't do it for a year, but I love what you did because it does provide you so much clarity when you take a moment. Those 2 weeks probably felt like decades. It
yes.
probably felt like a very long time.
Mhm.
And it like provides all of this like clarity and like I don't know if it's like relaxation. It's more like a change of scenery in like the most like insane way. The only way you could have made it more insane would have literally been to go to like a different country. That
Mhm.
was like extreme culture shock. New York is culture shock for like anyone who's never lived in Manhattan. It's
Mhm.
pretty wild. I love it. But it's different, and I love that you were able to do that, and then it provided you so much clarity. So, what'd you do when you got back to Nashville?
Yeah. So then I got back, and honestly, it was like, I mean, that just felt like a chain of events of I came back and then we immediately got reached out to by Bongo
Mm.
for their for doing a collab. So it wasn't even just like let's do your chai here, but they just wanted to talk about Pan Asian Heritage Month, which is the month of May. They're like, "Do you want to do a collab, or we'll feature your chai for the month?" So that was the email I came back to, and I was like, "That's interesting." So I kind of just started chasing that path to just see where it would take me. And so then I got in touch with their distributor, Bongo Roasting Co., which is like above them, and then they distribute products all throughout Nashville and the greater Middle Tennessee area. And so then they got whiff of this chai that their cafes were using. And so then they got a call with us and we started talking about what a partnership would look like with the distributor. Because then they were like, we have all these cafes in our network. What would it look like to get your chai to them and to a greater population? Because people have already always asked us, do you want to start a coffee shop? And the answer has always been maybe. But when you think about logistically what that would look like, it just starts to be like, oh, I don't want to do that right now. And then to think about how can we get chai in as many people's hands as possible, we were like, this is an easy path to an industry that is kind of untouched other than a, big box manufacturer. Like there isn't a choice, there isn't access to a better option. And so even just locally getting to go talk to cafe owners from that point on, it really was just starting to like door-to-door sales and talk to people. What do you currently use? What would you wish could be better? Talking to customers of people that love chai but are scared to order it at a coffee shop because they never know what they're going to get. Starting to just hear the things that kind of inspired like if we provided a solution to such a big industry in America, what would it look like and how big could that be? And so, yeah, that's kind of what happened when I came back. I just started dreaming that up and kind of going for it to just see what would happen.
That's super cool. So as of right now, do you guys distribute it all? Are you in coffee shops here in the area?
Yes, yeah. So we're now in, I think, 13 locations here in the Nashville area. So Bongo was our first, and then from there we went into like Humphrey Street, Silver Fox. We're in this new East Nashville has that window coffee shop, Earl. Yes, we just got in there. We're finalizing with Lady Bird Taco. So just a lot of cool places that we just were familiar with, and we stepped in. A lot of the places had people we knew, which was helpful, because there was a trust there. But then it's crazy, they try the thing and then they're like, we have never had anything like this. And it's that revelation. When you have a menu full of like intricate coffee drinks and, oh, now matcha, we have to get the best grade matcha, but chai is just a tag on. It's just something you put on the menu because you have to.
Yeah, and the chai, honestly, the quality at most places sucks. I got a chai latte at Starbucks yesterday because I was bored, and it was garbage. Like, it was really bad. I was surprised because you had always told me it was bad. I've never had a chai latte from Starbucks until yesterday.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this like podcast, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a chai latte. That sounds cool. I always get a matcha latte from Starbucks, and they do make a good matcha latte. It's not bad. Their chai is horrible, objectively bad.
Which is funny
and
to
I'm
think
really
about.
surprised.
It's funny to think about because they bought Tivana back in the day. You would think that there would have been some amount of cross-pollination that would have improved the product, but it's legitimately terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you rarely have like good chai lattes at like almost any coffee shop though. So to your point, Jess, like it is a really big, like untapped market. And I think it's a place where like a lot of people don't necessarily think. Like we've had a lot of CPG founders on the show. I like am connected in that space. And it seems that tea itself is something that there have been companies that have tried to do the thing. Tenzo with matcha, way before matcha was big. Like back when we started No Baked, they were attempting to like spread matcha through the universe, and it's like the hardest thing in the world because it's like really like how do we market and sell this? But like I think the way that you're doing it is like so it's like intelligent from the point of view that like the coffee shop is the place where people discover stuff, and like I think selling that on the shelf is so hard because like you've said that actually this is from you. You were like bottling it up and making an RTD is really hard to make it continue to taste good. It'll probably taste like shit. Right. I was like, that's not good. So yeah, like you just like follow the path that's like not normal, but maybe like the best place for the customer to try it.
It's similar to Oatly in that way because Oatly figured out that going through the coffee shops gave them that experience. That's how they had to try it.
Starbucks also gave them a shit ton of money.
That's true.
I'm curious. So like, is your guys' strategy now like, hey, we're gonna like figure out like how to continue selling to like more and more coffee shops? Is like that like kind of where your head is at for like the future?
Yeah, I guess it keeps evolving because definitely I think that there is a problem there that we want to solve like throughout the nation and throughout the West, where we just want to correct the reputation chai has, because it's just so disappointing. But also, as we step into watching a Poppy get bought for $2 billion from a Pepsi, and watching that functional beverage market just grow and grow and grow.
He's tempted to make an RTD.
Well, we just kept going, and we did the Brewin Bodega, which is this like incubator store at Belmont's campus that is also a scoop shop, which is super cool. So they give us a chance to try out some versions of our product, and we did bottle some chai and put it onto the shelf. Again, we have so much control in this because we are the ones, again, hand making and producing, but y'all, we could not keep that on the shelf. Like they kept calling us being like, hey, we're out of chai again. We're out of the iced chai. We're out of the bottled. Can you come restock us? And so when we then started going to like Kroger, a Whole Foods, or Sprouts, and looking at their like, it's the front of the store is the functional beverage like shelf, and you just see all these new drinks pop up all the time. Chai is not one of the options, and it's never something you see. And so there's, like you said, there's been a lot of people coming before us trying to correct the thing and trying to give options and access, but it just hasn't gone far enough. And so there is, again, a huge opportunity we see there. And so that came out in a lot of the conversations we had at the pitch, because again, these people have been doing the CPG, the RTD for a long time. And so they've been like, they just saw the opportunity there and immediately were like, would y'all be willing if we, helped pave some ways and had some conversations with people to see if this would be an option? And for us, quality is a non-negotiable, because then we would just be like everyone else. And so it might take years to find a way to make it the way we like, but we're definitely exploring that option.
I love to hear that. I love that you've come around to it after all of these years. Are you going to finally let me write you a check? Like, is that what's going to happen?
We're getting there,
This
Jimmy.
is going to be the next beverage brand we fund. I mean, I've actually seen a lot of really cool functional beverage brands, though, to your point recently, that I think continue to make the market like a more interesting place. And after the aftermath of Poppy and what happened with Olipop, I've had a ton of like I've seen a ton of brands who they're it's not like they started yesterday. They've been around since like 2020 or 2021, slowly attempting to do kind of what you're talking about, where they had like a childhood drink that was really, really good in their household. That was traditionally something that like their parents made. I've seen everything from like cactus water to tea to like all these things that I'd never heard of, where people are like, yeah, I want to bottle this up and give it to people because like here are the macros, or like here's like the function of it, and like it is so different than like picking a Red Bull up off the shelf and like chugging it. Like that's disgusting. And I was like, yeah, I think this is a place where like there will be more innovation and it's actually for the better. um but nailing I mean, how are you guys going about nailing down like quality when it comes to something like that? Is it just
Yeah, I
like
think
working with different manufacturers to try to figure out like who's gonna not suck?
yes, yes, that is the next step. We've just got a list that we're accumulating through research and the connections we've made last week, and we're just gonna go on a tour. Just go meet these people. I think it makes a big difference when you get to know a person and you're like, okay, trust,
Yeah.
honor, respect, all the things that, you want in friendship, but you also want in your manufacturing partner.
Dude, manufacturing relationships is so hard. Because it's like, I mean, it's probably like the most important part of your entire company, and like generally it's done by somebody else. Um, dude, you should definitely talk to the people at Food Forest AI.
That's
I keep
exactly what I was
thinking about
thinking.
that.
Yep.
Is it what you're thinking about?
Yep.
Yeah, we interviewed this guy rather, on our podcast a few weeks ago, and they built a database of manufacturers. It's kind of like a AI search engine for like CPG or like food and beverage, like Komen, and
Mhm.
like suppliers. Like he kept talking to us about like I think it was like mangoes or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Freeze
Anyways,
dried
if they
mangoes.
don't
Yeah.
if they don't have someone in their database, because it's so hard to build a database of that, a lot of these manufacturers don't even have a website. So they've been like basically intaking like brands like ours or yours, and then doing a lot of the legwork for them so that their database gets built better, I guess, in the future for like other people. It's a fascinating conversation you should probably have. Um, I just keep thinking about what they're working on, and then I hear people like you like work on that same problem on like the founder side, and I'm like, there is no right answer, is there? Because like I've even dealt with it with like cookie dough, and it was like searching for like a needle in a haystack, for lack of a better term, to find someone that would make edible cookie dough, which was like, really? Nobody wants to make edible cookie. It's simple. There's like a mixer and like some other things, but like not really that much stuff. Um, yeah, it's fascinating. It's hard to find because, yeah, no websites, hard to get in touch with. I'm excited to see where you guys end up.
Mhm.
Um, do you have like a dream retailer where you would sell the chai?
Well, there's this Indian grocery chain called Patel Brothers, which I know this is like it's not a
I
whole.
love that.
I would love to do all the Whole Foods, Kroger, whatever. Target, I
Sure.
think is
I
I
asked
love
you because it's specific to you.
right. I have yeah all the dreams, but specifically Patel Brothers out here is everywhere in America, and they provide all the like most authentic, most delicious goods. And I want to be accepted by the brown people. I'm like, I know we're making this product so everyone can try it and experience it, but I feel like getting the yes throughout this process from our, cultural context has been the biggest compliment. So, like, throughout the nation, like, people our age have been, buying in, getting our product, and just so excited by the fact that we're making chai cool again because they're like, dude, we have such a bad rep. Like, they have the same narrative and no one's tried to write that story for them. And so it's like a mob of us, like, getting ready to go to battle to make chai good, good and great again. And so I think being a part of that grocery chain would be fire.
It's
That's
funny you
awesome.
mentioned that. That's really similar to my story because I was like, empanadas were kind of this like thing you found in a hot box in a gas station. I thought that's
Yeah.
nasty, right? It's like this they can be so much better. I grew up with so much better. How can I make that something that everyone can experience? And for us, the context made sense. It was a food truck because we could make it to order and it was fresh every time that way. And then figuring out how to scale that ended up being really, really hard.
Mm.
But what we learned was that there is a lot of space there for like sharing something from a culture that's been kind of appropriated and then commoditized, and then decommodifying it, right, and bringing it back to its roots and making it, you know, real and authentic again. That's the most exciting piece. I think that's the
Yeah,
most fun. Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
That's cool. I have another question that I'm like just so curious about. Like along this process, how have your parents like come to view what you're like spending your time on? Because I imagine it's like very different now than it was in the beginning.
Yeah, big time. We're so lucky. We could have had the Brown parents that were like, stop what you're doing. You're getting an arranged marriage and I'm putting you in med school. Um, that could have been our story, but thank goodness it's not. Yeah, the beginning of this journey, they were amused, I think, more entertained by the fact that we were giving out chai to people and they were like, people are paying money for this. I'm like, this is just what you give to one another. It's part of hospitality. Like it's part of our thing. And so they were amused by it at the beginning. But when they would come to a farmer's market and see people have conversations and like legitimately get excited about what we were doing, you could just kind of always see this like intrigue. And then they showed up for the first farmer's market season. They would show up every week. They'd show up every week, help us set up, help us tear down. They were intrigued. They were so like excited. And again, me being a bratty teenager who told them to stop making curry so I didn't have to smell like it at home growing up, to now being like, come experience my culture with me and my family. They're like, who is this girl? You know, like they're experiencing so much growth of mine. And I think that in itself made them like supporters and brought them on board because they were like, you are a different person than who you were before this. And we as a family just got to invest and grow. And yeah, it became a whole affair where like all of us are in it 100%. They believe in it sometimes more than we do. They're ready to go to, Shark Tank themselves. I'm like, okay, guys, I don't know about that. But yeah, so I think for sure when they got to see us legitimately work towards a thing where this could have been a dream of theirs, being an entrepreneur that they could never do on their own. Like I said earlier, I was like, they started a church when they came to Franklin, and that is similar to entrepreneurship. It's tent making. It's building something from the ground up and showing up even when it's so incredibly hard. And we watched that firsthand. And now looking back where I was like, I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I grew up in this space and in this environment where I saw my parents do this thing in a different context, but they kind of modeled it for us. And so for them to see us do that in something that we're passionate about and something that is making a difference in the world, it's beautiful to watch them just be so grateful. Like they came to our pitch last week and they were standing behind our booth. Like they honestly kicked us out and they were like, we got this. Like we'll talk to the people, we'll serve them chai. Like they're so proud, which I mean, I'm not a parent. I don't know what that feels like, but it makes me emotional just thinking about the fact that we get to do this together all the time. And so, yeah.
I mean, it's really cool to see that evolution. And honestly, to your point, it's probably cool for them because, yeah, watching you go from like hardcore Americanized teenager to being like, I'm actually proud of where I came from is probably the most amazing thing for them. Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not them. But it seems like that would be like
It was
something
so
cool.
like, what is happening right now? So much whiplash. They're like, who is this girl? And again, I'm 22 years old. So like, I literally feels like that evolution happened from one stage to the next so quickly. And yeah, that shows you like how fast you have to learn and grow as an entrepreneur. Like you have to just be ready.
Yeah, and also, dude, I think it's undervalued. It's also underestimated how much people change between the time they're 16 and like they're like 24. Like it's like a small little 8-year gap. At least that's how it was for me, where I went from at like 16, I was kind of a pothead. Like I think I just like smoked weed all the time, didn't really do anything. I worked a lot. But then like the evolution of even someone like me, by the time I was 24, we were like running no baked with multiple stores. And I was like a very buttoned up. It's very weird to think about because even my personality changed so much over that period of time. And I think it's kind of like the reason I think it's kind of undervalued is like it's such a beautiful experience to have because there's nothing wrong with like either or. It all kind of like makes you like the person you are. It's also like a really exciting time to be alive. And I might romanticize it because we did found No Baked when we were that age, but like I just think it's like a great moment to like be an entrepreneur and like give the thing a shot. Because I hear from so many people like Daniel, it's like, well, I might as well have just started earlier. I'm already like in this. This clearly is like my calling. Like, what have I been doing? So yeah, dude, I love your story. Love the journey. Really cool. Especially the fact that you like just randomly picked up and went to New York. I want to do that. I'm just
And
gonna
I told
abandon
that
my
story
family for
because
2
it's
weeks.
just, yeah, just stress them out for a little bit. Yeah,
Megan would
I'm
kill
crying
me.
that I
She would
no.
actually end my life. She would come and find me in New York, and I wouldn't come back. That's what would happen. It would be
Right.
terrible.
Like he went missing. Um, yeah, I'm crying that I told that story, but I think it shaped this year for me big time. Like I would not have been so excited or vigilant coming out of college to just be like, I will fight to be, the person that I've grown into being every day, and I will fight to grow and be better. Like just to know I'm starting from the ground up, like is so humbling as an entrepreneur. You're like, things happen every day that you're like, I should have seen this coming, but you can't. You can't know everything, and it's
Yeah,
so.
no, absolutely nobody knows everything. Like I truly believe like everyone is kind of in a spot where not only do we not know anything, like any solutions, but you just kind of have to like be really good at like accepting the fact that you're probably gonna be wrong most of the time. Yeah,
Absolutely. Before we end this, because we're
yeah,
getting close to the end here, I wanted to ask one
yes.
question. Where did the
Yeah.
name come from? Because I love the name.
Yeah. Chechi means older sister. So in our culture, I don't know if you guys have seen like Indian movies or Bollywood or whatever, they call everyone auntie, uncle.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
that's like a title of honor and respect. So you don't even call them by their name sometimes. So especially like my own sister, I call her just Chechi, no Joanna, typically. So growing up, all my like white friends were all like Chechi, Chechi, like that's what they thought her name was. And so like everyone was calling her Chechi, like everyone was using that name, and so it just stuck. And so whenever she was making chai for the people, I was like, this is Chechi's chai.
It's
Um,
amazing.
It just dude, it sounds so good.
Perfect. Yeah,
Like
the
you
the
alliteration is
name is
beautiful.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, watching people pronounce it's a amusing time. But you guys killed it. Like from the start, I'm very impressed. But
I've been saying it for a while, so like if I didn't say it correctly, there'd be a problem. Like Jimmy, you haven't been paying attention the whole time. Like it's been 3 years. It really has. It's been like almost 3 years. Like yeah, dude, absolutely wild to like watch your journey, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But I hope people can like learn from this. Like hopefully someone like listens to this podcast, hears the story, they're like, okay, if this like 20-year-old girl can do it, when you were 20, like you were just like, okay, let's get this thing done. It's like, of course, you too, with a full-time job, can like start a side hustle, and it too can become something that like maybe it's the thing you do. I just wish more people would like give it credence or like just the thought that like, oh, that can happen to me too. Because imposter syndrome doesn't stop when you're like 30. It just keeps going and getting worse and worse
I'd argue
until
it's
you're like,
worse.
wait,
The more you get done, the more you realize how incompetent you are at what you're trying to accomplish beyond that.
well, then you realize how incompetent everybody is. And you're like,
Yes.
oh no. That's what I realized when I became a parent. I was
Uh,
like, oh, this is what happens. Like, you look at your parents growing up as these like all knowing beings, and then you turn like 10 maybe, and you're like, okay, like they're not right all the time. Then you're like 16 and you're like, you guys are stupid. And then you have a whole nother iteration of stuff that happens to you. And then you have kids and you're like, oh, wait, we're all stupid. And that's the craziest realization. Is so much worse for entrepreneurship because I think people, I've watched this happen. People build these insane businesses, like things that like they affect the lives of so many people, especially in consumer. It's like, how many people have you sold your product to? Like maybe tens of millions, or like with Poppy, like hundreds of millions of people have tried Poppy. Just as a good example. And it's like, and then they sell their company for billions of dollars. And they're still just normal people who probably don't know what's going on any more than you or I do. And it's a fascinating thing for them probably to realize, because they know, because they're them. They're like, I'm not a genius. And it leads you to believe like, well, that means nobody ever was, really. They were just really good at like taking risks or trying or like being okay with like failure. And it's a weird realization to come to. So then you're like, maybe I don't have to have imposter syndrome, but none of us really know what's going on, which is comforting and discomforting all at the same time.
All at once. Yes. So good,
It's
y'all.
great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Before we go, can you tell everybody where to find you at, where to connect with Chechi's Chai, where to go buy it, all the good things?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so like I said, so 12 coffee shops around Nashville. You can find all those locations on our social media and website. So we're at Chechi's_chai on Instagram and TikTok, I believe. And then website is chechischai.co.com. I need to buy that domain. But
Don't do that. I'm still .co. Don't buy
okay, well, that
.com.
makes me feel better.
It's so
actually.
expensive.
It's so expensive, so incredibly expensive. So we'll see about that. But for now, that's where you can find us. And then, yeah, if you want to try some of these RTD drinks, you can go to the Boom Bodega when they open back in
Nice.
January, and just kind of see what the future might hold.
I'm
And
gonna
then,
do
yeah,
that.
us, me, Joanna, our personal journeys. We're trying to document more. I'm trying to start vlogging. I'm trying to start being like, hey, if I want to document the big things, I need to start documenting the small things and make sure I
Dude, I
remember.
wish you would have documented your trip to New York. That's so cool.
I think it's for the best I did it, but yes,
I
it is.
mean, fine, but it's like such a moment. Like you're like, yeah, if you ever exit Chechi's Chai or anything like wild ever happens, it becomes like the greatest thing to talk about on stage when you're giving like motivational speeches.
For sure. I
Look,
mean,
guys, you have to just like pick up, buy a one-way ticket, and go to that city, and you'll find yourself.
what are you waiting for, guys? Come on. Yeah, it is the
Yeah,
line. It is the
I
line.
love that.
But
I love it so much. All right. Well, this has been a great episode. I
Great
think it
episode.
didn't live stream us, by the way. So I'm
Oh
just gonna
man.
post it.
Yeah.
I, dude, why does it keep not doing that? I
No
don't
idea.
know what's going on. Anyways, it's one out of every two episodes, guys. I'll eventually get an editor or producer or someone who knows what they're doing. But I'm cheap, so here we are. This is another great episode. I'll see you guys later.